Hello guys, today I'm going to show you my recent fashion shoot which I did mostly using gels. I'm going to break down into multiple processes what went into doing this shoot. So let's get started. The concept of this shoot was inspired by my stylish makeup artist. So she had designed an amazing outfit. So she did out of this birthday decorations, so like shimmery dress. And we thought because shimmer that catches colors very nicely. So what we thought is we will bring in gels and everything to make this a creative process. She also had some amazing props along those silver balls and everything. So that was making more sense with using more of the gels. So the first thing what we did was the background. So this was a new studio what I was shooting. So the background, they had some amazing backgrounds. You will see in the BTS as well, or as I am explaining. So let's talk about the backdrop or the background what we used for this shoot. So this was a new studio which I was shooting for the first time. It had one of the shoot what we did was a very big white wall, so it has good height as well, and there was like a door like molding was done, so it was looking very nice, and white catches color very nicely. They also had another very cute corner where we thought of doing the decorations of all those silver balls and everything and throwing some gel, so that will look nice as well. So the first one, the white wall, what we did is we thought of using 2-3 techniques, so including shutter drag, using all gels and mixing gels with the normal light as well. So the first one is the one where we use a key light as a normal light, and we thrown in some red gels as well. So we'll be coming to that. Before that, I'll be discussing color theory with that, why I chose those colors. So the first one I chose red at both the sides, so it was not kind of a color theory, but I thought red will look nice. She was a bit dark skin model what we chose for that shoot. So I thought showing in red will give a nice skin tone, because I like those kinds of contrasty colors, and red gives a nice contrast. I generally don't go with greens, but for the next one I definitely went with greens. So explaining the first one, I simply used the red from both the sides, and there were few of my 8300s or 8200s. The light doesn't matter, so you can do it with a strobe light as well. I was using a 8200 as well as a 8300, and I just thrown in the gel. My main light was 8300, which was I was using the new Genie Beauty dish, which was 85 centimeter, which is a silver diffused, and I was using the diffused one as well without the silver plate inside. So that was a nice addition. It was giving nice, and I was using with the grid. So that was all about the lights. Now coming to starting the shoot. So as I have explained in my earlier videos as well, I always start my shoot like setting my camera to aperture where I don't see any ambient light. So I start always with not putting any lights, like checking my ambient and no light is coming into the scene, and then I introduce all of my lights. So my camera is generally I use my Nikon Z6 with which I am shooting as well. So I use a setting of f8 or f9 between here and there, and I try to keep it at ISO 100 or around 160, not to go very high ISO. Then coming down to my shutter speed, it's always around 1/125. So that's the ideal aperture what I try to use, and that's the, I think 1/125, 1/160 the minimum sync speed which I can use with my Nikon Z6 camera. As the studio was a bit small with respect to the studios what I've shot earlier, I went with a 50mm 1.4 lens, but either way I was shooting as f8. So the first setup what we did, as I explained earlier, I used both of the red gels, but between the shoot what I did is I changed that from one of the gels from red to blue. So that was a very classic complementary theme color theory. So wherein one of the light was coming as red and one was coming as blue. So we put in some 3/4 as well as the full length shots. You will be seeing as I explain or seeing as the BTS goes on. The second one, with the same wall, what we try to do is we try to bring everything as gel. So rather not everything as gel. So the first setup what we did was key light was set up at 45 degrees. So it was a Rembrandt like lighting, and the shadows were filled with gel. It was also filling the white walls, so it was looking everything red white walls with the red highlights, and the white was filling as a Rembrandt light. The second one what we did is we tried to bring the key light as a top light, so it was like above her. We tried to bring red from both the sides, and the shadows below the nose we give a clamshell, a lighting setup. So what we gave is the filling below the neck, below the nose and everything. We tried to fill that with green color. So this was basically we are trying to do a RGB setup. But for some reason I was not able to put in a gel within my key light, so we went with that theme wherein we had the key as top, two reds, and the fills were green. So we mostly did portraits with that because the length was not great. So that time I switched from my 50mm lens to my 85mm lens. So that was more nearer portraits and everything. The third one what we did is with the same white wall, what we try to do is, because she was wearing shimmery and the shimmering movement catches very nicely, so what we did is we kept the lighting almost same. So I changed both of the lights now with the continuous light. So I wanted to do a shutter drag method, so I replaced both of the highlight lights with the continuous lights. So I was using Aperture small lights. So one was Aperture and one was Godox. I can put everything into description, you can look through those. And my key light was still the Genie beauty box with the AD300. Here what I did is I switched back my lens to 50mm because it was more 3/4 and those kinds of shot. The setting now, it was like I was giving her a half second, 1 second time, so I can capture the light. So when you place the camera, you just move your camera once you make a click. So the light in the room, the ambient light catches with the dress, so it creates an effect with the light wherever it shimmers. So that is the shutter drag method, where I keep my aperture to be same like f8 or f11. My shutter speed is the most important thing in shutter drag, so I give it like half a second, 1 second, 2 seconds. It depends on the creative process, so I played between those. My ISO I brought a bit up, like because it was not enough light and I had to only make those shutter drags with the continuous light, so I bought it like 300 or 400. I will put everything into the description, I may be wrong as well. So that is the third method what we did, and you will see it in the while I am explaining as well in the BTS how the photos have turned out. So the final setup, we used as I said earlier, there was a very cute corner, so we decorated that with the decoration what she had, which was left out of the dress what she made. We also used the different sizes of silver balls as well, and what we thought is we'll use again gels, a complementary scheme, maybe the red and cyans and everything, and I'll throw in like a hard like with the optical snoop. But that idea actually did not go well, because the problem was the corner was very nice, but the thing was the corner behind it was having white walls. So when I tried to use the hard light, it was reflecting lot of light back, so it was very getting overexposed and none of the gels were catching colors. So we ended up not using the optical snoop. So what I did is on one of the light I used a cyan gel, and one of the light I think I used a red gel. So that was again a complementary combination of gels what we used. So that was catching very nicely, and we wanted to make it a bit more of a hard light look. And what we did is to just fill in more shadows because those were like not the key lights, but they were like a kicker lights, but they were with a bare bulb. They were not with any modifiers or something. So I wanted to like fill in some shadows. So at behind me, what I did is I put in like a 105 umbrella as a fill light. So that was filling in nicely the light, and that was a nice complementary theme what we did here. Because the space again was very tight, I switched back to my 50mm lens. The setting, because it was not shutter drag or something, so I switched back to using 1x125 f8 or f9, and ISO was 100. So you will see it in the BTS and also in the final photos how the photos look like. Hope you liked the video, and if you have any questions about gels or any of the techniques what I've used and shown in the video, I'll be more than happy to answer those. So put those into comments and stay tuned for the next video.